Okay, we're going to go back into our workshop and finish our workshop agenda, which is D, the superintendent's estimate of needs for the fiscal year 2023-24 and the superintendent's proposed fiscal year 2023-24 through fiscal year 2028-29 capital improvement program budget. Yes, Ms. Pate.
So good evening, Chairwoman Riggs, Vice Chairwoman Weems. She's not here. Good school board members, Dr. Spence. So this presentation is going to pretty much mirror what was done at retreat earlier. There are a couple of people that aren't here now, so we'll try to summarize that as best I can. I'm going to just start with a recap of the questions from the school board this past week. One of them was updating the budget balancing spreadsheet to the website. We did post that. We also posted the proposed CIP budget to the website as well. The second was to make the transfers to other funds. Ms. Manning had asked that question. We did provide that response to her and did copy the whole board on the transfers that come from the operating budget to other funds within the division. The last question was also, Ms. Manning, was a great question that noticed that the administrative assistant at Bayside High School was showing a higher cost than the one for the Lansdowne Middle School. We did go back and take a look at that. That record for Bayside High School ended up being calculated on 2,080 hours, which is a 12-month employee. That should have been calculated on 1,466 hours. We've made that adjustment, and it is reflected in this next slide for the budget balancing. So you'll see now that's highlighted Bayside High School is now more in line with Lansdowne Middle. And then that difference between what was originally on the budget balancing of about 120,000 down to the 87,000 has been put back up into the increased allowance for advanced degrees. So that's the only change we have made to the balanced budgeting that we provided to you at the last workshop. So we'll go through that. One of the things that I mentioned at retreat, and I'll mention again now, is we do expect the General Assembly to come through with some additional funding. As you may know, they adjourned on Saturday. They passed what is now referred to as a skinny budget. Joel Andrus referred to that this morning, and basically did a stopgap measure. So there is some money in that budget being proposed on both sides for the VDOE error. We don't know what that's going to look like for Virginia Beach, but we do think that there's going to be additional money available to Virginia Beach. We just don't know at this point what that is. So we are currently balanced as we were before with the $4 million that was proposed by the House after crossover. The Senate proposal would have given us $30 million more. We do not expect to even get close to that, but we do expect to probably see more than the $4 million that's coming through the House. So we are staying with the conservative estimate of being balanced at the $4 million, still going with option 1 for the instructional scale and the unified pay scale as we presented. So what we were asking the board to think about, we are going to be looking for approval on next Tuesday. If this additional money comes through, if we know about it, even if we don't know about it by then, what kinds of things the board would like to see, what kind of priorities they would like to see. Certainly, our recommendation would be to increase the allowance for advanced degrees back up to the original amount. That would be our number one. Any additional compensation items, there are probably some things that Siegel could probably look at with various things. I know something that was thought about this afternoon, I believe, and I'm gonna look to Cheryl, Chesapeake's starting salary for teachers right now is higher than what our starting salary is. That was not changed in their Siegel presentation. That's an item that maybe some of that money could go to if we wanted to change that starting salary. So just some of the things we're trying to, for you all to think about, so when we have to move pretty quickly, if we have to, after it's approved and we have to amend a budget for additional money, you'll have some thoughts in your mind. The other issue would be PAYGO funding for the CIP. Just had a really long discussion on PPEA. CIP is not PPEA, but any funding, any cash that goes into CIP certainly reduces our reliance on debt. We did have a compensation earlier, but I'm not going to cover any of that. Really, nothing's changed for the budget balancing piece. We are still staying within the cost that we had before. Ms. Ingram did cover CIP program slides earlier today. Again, nothing's changed from what was submitted to you all previously, so she just did a summarization. What I am going to say in closing this piece, there has been some talk about, after the last workshop, what would happen if we did not approve a CIP program and what that would look like going forward over to city council. My concern would be to share with you that the city manager proposed budget right now currently includes a CIP program that's been presented to you, and that's what is in their budget. They will be presenting to, their staff will present to city council around March 18th. The CIP is a city fund. So if the school board doesn't reach a consensus on that CIP program, so it doesn't have to be this CIP program that you're looking at, it can be a CIP program that you come to a consensus on. I just would worry that if it went over to city council without an approved CIP program, that does probably allow city council to modify that program during the reconciliation process. So it is something I just want to share with you. Again, not necessarily if you have some disagreements with what is currently being proposed to you for CIP, regardless of the PPA process, I would encourage you to try to at least come to a consensus on a CIP program, that so when we get ready to ask for your approval, you will have that in addition to the operating budget that we're going to send forward. And that is all I have for you as a quick update this evening, and be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Ms. Brown? And then Ms. Manning?
Okay, so this skinny budget that was passed, is that included in our current information?
It is not, because when they do pass that, they give us figures that are large figures for the entire state, so we don't know how that's gonna funnel through the calc tool for Virginia Department of Education, so we don't have any documents that would allow us to see what the impact is on the Virginia Beach.
Okay, so it's my understanding that that calc tool is going to fix, so.
There is money in the spending plan that's been proposed in the skinny budget to fix this year and to fix fiscal year '24, because the error impacts this fiscal year as well as fiscal year '24.
Okay.
But we have not seen what that looks like.
Okay, well, so I would like to, if we get more, I'm sure that everybody else would probably agree if we could put money towards the advanced degrees again and back to funding option one. So I just wanted to say that that's where I stand with that. Thank you.
So just to get clarity on that, so we are funding option
are.
one. I think you're saying back to getting option two fully funded on the unified scale?
Yes, that's what I mean.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was. I just wanted to be clear.
Like
And,
midnight.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Manning?
So I'm going to go back to a request that I made last week because I don't think it was understood. So when I'm talking to the public about the different options that we're talking about, it's so difficult for me to talk to them about what I'm talking about because I don't have the numbers. I would like to be able to say, you can go to the VB Schools budget website and you can see what is option one, you can see what is option two, and that way I can, citizens understand that when we have, which you did put on one of my requests, the balance sheet, but it says in here option one and option two, so the public, they don't know what that is.
Okay.
So that's what I wanted on the website.
So let me say this. I believe that the full Siegel presentation was posted onto the website that shows what was presented for the compensation. What I am gonna say is, the numbers that are there will differ slightly from what that compensation study will show, and here's why. Is that's just the operating budget. When Siegel presented to you the entire compensation, it requires all funded positions. So there's food services in there, there's athletic fund, well, not athletic fund, but there's grant funded positions in there. So in order for our team and budget to actually do the operating budget, we had to have them tease that out. So I just needed to have operating budget positions that reflected what the cost would be for option one or option two for the instructional pay scale, and then the three phases for the unified really don't change. So there will be a difference, but the Siegel presentation is out there. I'm trying to,
But I would like the public to have what we're gonna be voting on.
and it will be that.
Okay.
It will be that. I mean,
Okay.
that is option one for the instructional pay scale. It's 30-some million dollars. I think it was 30-some million dollars that was presented in the Siegel compensation, but it's gonna be more because I'm only reflecting the operating portion in that that budget balancing.
Okay,
And
yeah,
we-
I mean, as much information as we can put on there for the public in the different options and what they are and what they mean.
And I will go back and look and see what I don't want to confuse people with this, with the process in which we went through to get that, because we did have to have Siegel go back, look at those numbers based on the questions that we have when we start doing the budget.
I would say put on there what is option one right now, what is option two right now.
Okay.
And what we're considering.
Okay, so I think we can go.
Because I'm even
Yeah,
confused at this
so
point.
I think we can, when I know what's out there, but let me look what's out there. So option one talks about instructional scale, we're putting 1.5% between each step. And then, we can put that out there to represent what that cost is. Would be helpful?
Yeah, but I mean, in the option one, we're also, I mean, I want the public to be able to see how much of an increase we're giving to, teachers and staff.
You want scales? I'm trying to make sure I get the right thing out there.
So, let me go back. Okay. So in tracking the request, we saw the original request that said the options, and then a follow-up request that said just post the presentation.
I didn't
So.
say that.
Well, we're happy to post either one. So we did send to Natalie's team the presentation. Because it has to be ADA required,
Yeah.
whenever you have documents with that many numbers and different things, and it's a little more time consuming. So that was about to be posted. If you just want the options that we can uplift from the scale, which was one of the other slides we did at another presentation, we can do that as well. So I can't remember who responded, but I thought I remember someone responding saying, just post the entire presentation. So just tell me what you want.
I just want the options posted for the public to see
Okay.
what we are gonna be voting on.
Okay,
Ms. Woodhouse, your charts are extremely difficult
Yes,
for us
they
to
are.
do, so we need some time. We can certainly email them or send them to anybody. Getting them on
Right.
the website might take a little while. Charts are very, very difficult for
Yes.
ADA.
Or, I mean, if the presentation has the information in it, but Crystal was just saying that the presentation is different, so.
it's not gonna be perfectly aligned because when Siegel is making those recommendations, they don't account for those positions that come from different funding sources. But the scale itself, what you were talking, the teachers for option, I didn't hear anything, I don't think. Option one and option two, that's not gonna change. So we can post that.
Okay.
You remember the Siegel presentation was probably like 80 slides.
Yeah.
And it had more charts. I mean,
Yeah, that's
so
too confusing.
converting that takes a long time. And
Yeah.
so that is actually easier and we can do that. And Natalie, I'll get that to your team first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I got it.
Ms. Melnick?
Ms. Woodhouse, just quickly, we had a teacher, not teacher, but a citizen, employees say that Siegel used the wrong calculations. Was there any truth to that? And maybe we can talk offline about this, but.
But I always say, and I listen to the spirit of the comments behind it. So their concern was, did Siegel pull enough resources, which I tried to remind them, the Siegel pulled resources from the school divisions that the school board directed us to pull from.
Right.
When the concern was brought to my attention, I went back to Siegel and asked them to pull a different, more school divisions information, which they gladly did. So with that information, they brought back the proposal that indicated that our staff was paid within market, except that Chesapeake was an outlier, which is something we've been talking about with all of our positions. With that being made, they still made the two recommendations that we brought forth. So I would say, everyone's interpretation is a little different. And, when we talk about median and mode, it's a little different. And so, but I understood the spirit of the question. And I think any of the staff who've had direct communication with me would know that we definitely went back. I shared with them that we went back, hence the two proposals that we brought forward to you.
Any more questions? Okay, Miss Anderson.
Thing. So if we do get more money, I would like to see that starting salary be more competitive, like ahead of Chesapeake's. Okay, thank you.
So would we. Yes, we're all in agreement on that.
Definitely. Okay, we good? All right, thank you. All
Can we,
right.
just quickly, a reminder, because again, we're on a budget calendar timeline. So, this is, our second to last budget conversation before an anticipated adoption. When I say second to last, we will have another special meeting next week. That special meeting is where we anticipate adoption of this budget and CIP. Obviously, there'll be time for discussion prior to a vote. So that's your last opportunity for questions and conversation. So as you've been doing, please get your questions to us, any lingering questions or thoughts to us this week so that we can provide a response to you and to the board, hopefully in advance of the meeting or at the meeting at the latest. So just a reminder of that because it's coming up on us.
Okay,
Mrs. Riggs, if your next step is going to be closed session, can I ask if you discuss how much that you want to cover? If you want to cover it all, so otherwise we just need to modify the call for closed session before it's read. Do you want to cover all the subjects?
tell us what all the subjects are
I
and
have one right
we'll,
here.
we'll talk about it. We'll decide. Go ahead.
We have the superintendent's mid-year evaluation and contract matters, grievability determination for an employee grievance, pending litigation matters, and the Jewel Labs settlement offer discussions.
I will tell you, the grievability has to be decided tonight and Jewel has to be decided. I don't think they're law matters, but they have to be decided tonight. Pending litigation is nothing gonna panic about that, but.
All right, so we'll pull the pending litigation. Okay? I don't want to pull Dr. Spence's mid-year eval
Well, you
again.
punted it last time because we went too late into the evening,
Yes, we
so.
did. I mean, it's up to y'all. I mean, I don't want, I want to do it justice though too. So what do you guys want to do? Okay, let's do it.
Just do all four?
No, we're gonna pull the,
Okay.
If you have any reason you wanna ask me about some amending stuff, we can do it. Okay, go ahead.
do us, excuse me. So we're gonna do them all?
Okay.
All right, let's just do them all. Okay.
Are you ready for me to read?
Yes, Ms. Melnick, would you please read, into closed session?
I move that the school board recess into closed session to deliberate on the following matters. 1, a closed meeting pursuant to the exemptions from open meetings allowed by section 2.2-3711, part A, paragraph 1 is amended. A1, discussion, consideration of interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body. A2, discussion or consideration of admission or disciplinary matters or any other matters that would involve the disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record concerning any student of any public institution of higher education in the Commonwealth or any state school system. However, any such student, legal counsel, and if the student is a minor, the student's parents or legal guardians shall be permitted to be present during the taking of testimony or presentation of evidence at a closed meeting. If such student, parents, or guardians so request in writing and if such request is submitted to the presiding officer of the appropriate board. A7, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body. For the purpose of this subdivision, probable litigation means litigation that has been specifically threatened or on which the public body or its legal counsel has a reasonable basis to believe will be commenced by or against a known party. Nothing in this subdivision shall be construed to permit the closure of a meeting merely because an attorney representing the public body is in attendance or is consulted on a matter. A8, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. Nothing in this subdivision shall be construed to permit the closure of a meeting merely because an attorney representing the public body is in attendance or is consulted on a matter. namely to discuss 1, superintendent's mid-year evaluation and contract matters, 2, grievability determination for an employee grievance number 531-12-7-22, 3, pending litigation matters, 4, Joel Labs Incorporated settlement offer discussions. I made that motion.
Have a second? Okay, motion, it was made by Ms. Melnick and seconded by Ms. Anderson. Is there any discussion? Okay, all that are in favor to go into closed session, please raise your hand.
Madam Chair, we have 10 ayes. The motion did pass to go into closed session.
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna start with Dr. Spence's eval, midterm eval, okay? We're out of closed.
Whereas the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered. That needs a motion. I'm sorry.
Any discussion? Seconded. That was a second. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand.
We have 10 ayes. The motion did pass.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with, the motion. I'm gonna read these, okay? I move that the school board approve the settlement offer with Joel Labs Incorporated and authorize the school board chair, the superintendent or designee, and the school board attorney to take all other actions necessary to accomplish this settlement. Do I have a second? Second from Ms. Jennifer Franklin. All right, all in favor say aye, or all in favor raise your hand.
We have 10 ayes. The motion did pass.
Okay, so the second one is the grievability determination grievance 531-12-7-22, Terry Pope. Whereas an employee has submitted a grievance to resolve a dispute with the employee's principal regarding written corrective actions given to the employee, and whereas the school administration, in accordance with Regulation 4-3.1 and applicable law, has challenged whether the grievance as set forth by the employee meets the definition of a grievance and whether the employee should be allowed to proceed with the grievance procedures. And whereas the school board determined that the parties would submit written arguments to the school board regarding grievability, and whereas on February 28th, 2023, the school board met in closed session to deliberate on the written argument submitted by the parties. Now, therefore, it is resolved by the school board that, 1, the school board determines that the grievance meets the definition of a grievance and that the employee may proceed to the next stage of the grievance procedures. Further resolved that the clerk shall provide a copy of this resolution to the employee's attorney, school board attorney, the director of employee relations, and chief human resources officer, who shall place a copy of the resolution together with a copy of the supporting documentation in the employee's personnel file, adopted by the school board of the city of Virginia Beach this 28th day of February 20, no,
Madam Chair.
actually, this first day of March 2023. Okay. All in favor? Raise your hand.
We have 10 ayes. The motion did pass.
Don't forget to leave all of your closed session materials in that folder.
All right, the school board meeting has adjourned.